Hey guys, SunDown here. This is going to be my chapter review to One Piece 902 End Roll. Now, for the finale to what I thought was a really good arc, this chapter kind of initially fell flat for me, but then upon rereading, and I think I kind of reread this chapter 3 times. Usually it's only the twice. But when you include Jaimini's box, and I read their translation just to make sure I get a more complete and wholesome understanding of the chapter, it really did kind of grow on me. The chapter did get a little bit better the second and third time reading, so maybe it didn't fall as flat as I initially thought, but the chapter was good. I did enjoy parts of the chapter. I was initially going to say that it didn't do too much to get me excited, but it did a decent job of that. I think the parts with the Straw Hats mostly was just kind of the flattish parts, but everything else was good. The structure of kind of flashing through everything with Big Mom singing over the top, I think it was Big Mom singing anyway. I thought initially that was really lazy and cheap, but then upon the double reread that I did, the words and kind of how they tied into the situation and things like that, and then really the melancholic undertones and the really manic undertones as well, I think really served to kind of improve the chapter a bit. So it wasn't as bad as I thought initially, and I did actually enjoy the chapter more upon second and third readings. So the chapter starts with Sanji having been told that Pedro has died. And obviously this is something that we've been waiting for Sanji to hear about. And Sanji feels guilty about his how he was involved in basically Pedro dying, because Pedro came to save him, one of the people responsible for saving the Makomo Dukedom. So Sanji is in essence responsible for Pedro having died. Kara obviously tries to console Sanji, putting on a brave face and telling Sanji that it was Pedro's just a decision, but she ends up crying, and then Sanji ends up consoling her instead. So I feel a big part of this chapter really served to highlight the bonds between family and the perception of family between people who aren't even really related, and really it was more about family and love and things lost and things gained and things like that. So yeah, obviously the other thing this chapter highlighted was that both sides suffered losses and gains, and that no one really won. And in most battles, huge battles, no one really wins. I mean, unless there's a landslide victory or things like that. But usually both sides will have lost too much to really call it a win. So I think it's at this point where Big Mom starts singing. And like I said, initially I thought this whole singing part was really annoying, but upon second read and third read, I thought this was okay, and the dimension added to the chapter was decent. I thought it was okay. So like I said, this whole arc has been musical based, so it's not really something that was unexpected. I think upon initial reading it just rubbed me the wrong way for some reason, and also I think the lighting for this video is going to be a bit dark, and that's just the way it is. I mean, there's tons of light coming in, but I think it's coming in at the wrong angle, so that's just the way it is. Now I feel like the Big Mom crew were shamed this arc. They were thoroughly shamed, with their territory having been invaded and powerful members of their crew having been defeated by half the crew of a young pirate. This is really like for Big Mom to start singing as if they were victorious. That's the only thing that really rubbed me the wrong way. For Big Mom to start singing as if they were victorious and as if they've just destroyed Straw Hats or something, that really just made me consider whether Big Mom knows how much they've lost in terms of the prestige of the crew, the appearances of the crew, and the just the intimidating factor that they've had. Just like you wouldn't think to invade Big Mom's territory before the Straw Hats have done this, and now everyone's going to be trying to do it, you'd assume. So that's the only thing that really rubbed me the wrong way with the singing and the musical aspect of this chapter. It's like, does Big Mom know how much this has actually impacted on her crew and their standing within the Yonko and the pirates in general, and what the Marines will see them as now? So we see the Straw Hats, they're going to the edge of Big Mom's territory, they're trying to get out. We see Cotton Candy Snow, which if you remember when they first entered Big Mom's territory, cotton candy snow was falling, so it shows that they've reached the border once again, and they're about to get out. And the Big Mom crew are avidly trying to locate the Straw Hats, trying to find out where they are via sea slugs, but obviously it's way too late. So we then see Sanji consoling Carrot, like I said, and we see Pudding crying, carrying she's kind of carrying this reel, a memory reel, which she must have taken from Sanji. At that point I was like, yo, what's she taken from Sanji that like she's really balling here? So we actually get back to that later, but let's go through it chronologically. So we then see the Germa ship and the Queen Mama Chanta amidst the waves, with Jinbei and the Sun Pirates providing that solid rear guard for Luffy and the Straw Hats. And then we go back to Pudding, crying amidst the destruction and fighting still going on Cacao Island. And this is one part of the chapter that really gave me the feels. I mean, it hit home big time. And we see Big Mom's kind of initial instructions to Pudding to make Sanji fall in love with her by putting on an act, act as if act as a girl that Sanji would fall in love with. And it was easy because Sanji would fall in love with pretty much anybody. So Big Mom says that Pudding is her like little puppet, like she's just a little marionette in the control of Big Mom, whilst Pudding feels like she's like, nah, you don't know me, like I'm a monster. So I was like, okay, that's the part where like Pudding's perception of herself is really messed up. She just views herself as like this ugly, disgusting monster, and it's more about her personality rather than her outward appearance. But it also has to do with her third eye, which is something that she seems to be very conscious of. So, and then coming back to the third eye, we see her will broken at the altar by Sanji, where he sees her eye and he's like, yo, that's pretty, I like your third eye, you've got beautiful eyes. He says something like that, and we see how she falls more and more in love with Sanji as the story goes on, through the baking of the cake and everything like that. And then finally, in that dark alleyway on Cacao Island, she kisses Sanji for the first and last time, and stole his memories of her last request, which was the kiss. So that's the memory reel she was holding. It was her kiss with Sanji, and he doesn't have any memory of that, any recollection of that. He does still remember who Pudding is. That's because he refers to her by Pudding when she runs away, but he doesn't remember the kiss. And this really hit me hard because it shows that she feels that she's gone too far to be granted a shot at redemption, and she feels like she needs to stay with this cancerous family that she was born into. Now, granted, I just mentioned before that her siblings actually don't seem so bad, but I don't know what it was. The initial feeling we got from the family was that the younger siblings, so maybe not the older generation like Katakuri, Brûlé, Perospero and them, they're all okay. They seem to be less crazy, but all the younger siblings, which Pudding would be associated with, they seem to be the crazies, and that's really who Pudding has to surround herself with. So it's kind of sad that she has to stay with that side of the family. And Sanji, her one shot at freedom, became someone she genuinely actually loved, but she couldn't bring herself to escape with him, probably feeling that it wasn't her place after everything she'd done. So she stays kind of a prisoner of her own family, madly in love but tearfully separated from Sanji. So that panel where she's just crying her eyes out really shook me, and I was like, damn, like it would have been nice to see Pudding actually escape and kind of redeem herself a little bit, and also fix up her bipolarness. I mean, like, she doesn't seem to actually have bipolar disorder. She's just part of this crazy family. So then, hearing the Straw Hats have reached the border of Big Mom's territory, the Germa begin their own retreat. And no matter how much we've hated them before, I mean, I hated the Germa with a passion when we started. They were cool to see, but just what they'd done to Sanji in the past really annoyed me. But these guys have put in some mad work to get the Straw Hats to safety. So major props to the Germa, and I wonder if we'll ever see them again. Maybe if a journey to the moon or something Vegapunk related occurs or something like that. I think they might be involved later, but considering how their part of this chapter ended, I'm not too sure anymore. So moving from heartbreaking, which was Pudding, and that was truly heartbreaking, to heartwarming, we get a scene between Katakuri and Brûlé in the mirror world. Now, she asks why he fell on his back when he was initially falling forward after Luffy popped him in the gut or something like that. So Katakuri comes clean, and he's like, you know what? And he tells Brûlé this whole persona that he's adopted, and this kind of whole story built about the man that is Katakuri, you know. All of that is just a lie. He's not the person that he's tried to build himself up to be. And surprisingly, Brûlé says that she has always known, you know. She's been kind of like throwing around, she's been the hype man for for Katakuri all the way through this arc, like, oh, he's never been on his back and all that and that. She's been really building him up. I think just to kind of hype him up, just to kind of get him motivated to attack. But she says she's always known, and she has a very human-like smile when she says it, spreading across her usually angry face. And notice that she didn't even actually flinch when she saw her brother's face, and I think he might be her younger brother. But when she saw her brother's face, she didn't even flinch, knowing and showing that she knew his true appearance. And it could very well be that only those younger than Katakuri by a few years don't actually know his true appearance, and it's why he doesn't seem to have as much of a bond with them. He'll still protect them as family, but Brule seems to have more of a relationship with him than they'll ever have with him. So Brule then goes on to tell Katakuri that she'd seen him through the mirrors a bunch of times, and a truth which kind of causes Katakuri to blush, which was something I didn't think we'd ever see. Brule seems to have always been way more perceptive than we gave her credit for, telling Katakuri that she knew he put on this act just for his family. You know, if he appeared strong, imposing, undefeatable, intimidating, nobody would dare hurt his family. And that's exactly what he did. But it's also it's occurred as a direct result of something that's happened in the past. So what we had in the past was Katakuri had trouble making friends because of his appearance, which meant he was always in fights. And one such gang of individuals who Katakuri demolished got their revenge on Katakuri by slashing up Brule's face, the origin of that huge scar diagonally across her face. But Brule as a child said it was okay to Katakuri, saying that he was fine the way he was, which obviously only annoyed him more because his appearance and his fights because of his appearance were the cause of his sister's abuse. So then, in a very Katakuri-like fashion, we see Katakuri throw away his weakness by wrapping a scarf around his face. We've seen that scarf all the way through the arc, and he decimates the people who injured Brule, and that's basically the origin of Katakuri the Undefeatable. You know, if he just has that aura, that kind of intimidating backstory and that surrounding kind of I've forgotten what the word is, you know, that whole backstory, I've forgotten what the word is, but if he has that kind of thing around him, you know, that whole backstory, then no one will be able to touch his family or his siblings, and that's essentially what he's done. So Katakuri then asks where Luffy is, with Brule telling him that the Straw Hats have escaped the territory. Now obviously Katakuri is gladdened by this, something Brule knew he would be, but she isn't proud of the fact that he is, you know. I just really enjoyed this chapter that we got to see the bonds between the older children of the Charlotte family, and there's this sad undertone all the way through of being concerned about appearances within the Charlotte family, something which makes Brule's disfigurement that much harder for someone like Katakuri to hear, considering his own appearance. But overall their familial bonds are strong within the higher echelon, within the older children at least, and it seems that most of their craziness is just reserved for their enemies. At least we hope so. So with this, Big Mom enters the fray at Cacao Island with the Germa, Jinbei and the Sun Pirates in some big doo-doo right now. The question is, who will die and who will survive? Now, the Sun Pirates have the means to get away. They can all just kind of swim away, you know, but the Germa may well be truly fooked here. I think they might be screwed because they have no means of getting away, especially seeing as Big Mom popped her famed question of life or death, and it really doesn't seem like they'll be able to make it out of their hole. And we had what's her name, Reiju, kind of giving that knowing smile of we've done our job, now it's our time to go. And I was just like, I didn't want Reiju at the least to go. I mean, like, Reiju, man, she's been best girl this whole arc. So the final scene is Sanji whipping up some food for the Straw Hats, which is paralleled by another scene where Zeph whips up some food for some enemies of the Barati, and it brings the whole year of Sanji thing to a close, with the cook of the Straw Hats back home cooking for anyone that's hungry, just like his father. So yeah, that was really the end of the chapter. Smoothie still actually did, by the end of the arc, nothing. She did nothing. Daifuku did more than Smoothie did this entire arc in just this Cacao Island exchange. So yeah, Smoothie took a major L. Smoothie for like what's the opposite of Nakama? I don't know. Find the word, someone, put it in the comments below. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought of the chapter. Let me know what you guys thought of this review. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys tomorrow when I release my My Hero Academia review. So I'll see you guys in a bit.